Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the DRF race of the day for Friday, June the 7th, race number 12 at Saratoga, part of the Belmont Stakes Festival. It's the Grade 1 Acorn, 3-year-old fillies going 1 1/8 miles. Let's take a look at this field. $500,000 is the purse. You've got last year's 2-year-old filly champion, Just FYI, second in the Kentucky Oaks last time out, and second to Torpedo Anna, who has been razor sharp this year at 3.
Really impressive. Torpedo Anna was winning the Kentucky Oaks on the lead last time, Dan, even though she doesn't need to be there. She made the front. She was really good. These two horses, they both ran really well in the Kentucky Oaks. And some of the also rans who were going to come and try them again in here didn't get quite as lucky from the trip department. There were some trips in that race.
Not only trips, but maybe just the racetrack worked against a couple of them as well. It was a sealed, sloppy surface. We'll throw up our pace projector. Mike makes a good point about Torpedo Anna. Yes, she wired them last time out in the Kentucky Oaks, but she's just as comfortable sitting off a horse or two. So if the 6 Where's My Ring or the 7 Regulatory Risk decide to go, she can sit in a nice position outside while clear of horses.
It's going to be interesting to see how this pace plays out, because certainly Torpedo Anna could go. Where's My Ring, Regulatory Risk, they're tactical. I don't look at them as, blazers necessarily, but I wouldn't be surprised if Where's My Ring got a little more aggressive this time. What about the 3 Leslie's Rose, Dan? They sort of got her towards the back of the pack. She's drawn inside again for this race, and she's plenty fast if Irad wants to get aggressive.
And I think Irad is going to use her speed, not necessarily to make the lead, but to try to find the same trip they found in the Ashland, which worked so well for her. And that was tucking in behind the speeds. Yep. And I think if the 6, 7, and 9 go, I think Leslie's Rose is certainly faster than the 2 Power Squeeze and can outfoot Becky's Joker if she runs in here to that spot. It'll be interesting to see how fast they go, but Torpedo Anna will be close to the pace. Just FYI is tactical as well. Let's start things off with Becky's Joker, who's cross-entered in the Jersey Girl sprinting on Thursday at Saratoga. Wherever she goes, it'll be a tough spot simply because we haven't seen her since the Saratoga Summer Meet of 2023. We last saw her in the Adirondack. She didn't run very well against 3 next out winners, with Brightwork coming back to take the Grade 1 spin away with an 84 buyer. But she ran well fresh in her debut, pulled off a big upset against winners.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see which spot they choose, and then we'll see, what she does, Dan. I mean, I don't really like her chances that much in the Jersey Girl, and that's a way better spot than this one. She can't beat these horses.
Timeform US believes this pace will be fast, and the horse with the fastest late Timeform US pace figure is the 2 Power Squeeze, who's very underrated. She won 4 in a row, including the Gulfstream Park Oaks, going 1 1/16 miles. Now, that race sort of set up for her a little bit. It sort of quickened up the pace on the backstretch, but it's not like Power Squeeze was completely outrun when that pace quickened up. She stayed with those horses and then grinded them down. She's one of those horses that I think track, surface, and trip, it just worked against her in the Kentucky Oaks.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you could certainly go back to the win 2 starts back with the big figure there and just say, she took advantage a little bit and she's not that good. I don't really look at her that way. I thought she ran a perfectly good race that day, and I thought she was a legit winner of that race. It just didn't work out, and maybe the wet track had something to do with it in the Kentucky Oaks stand, but she had an impossible trip in that race. Never near the rail, very wide on both turns, all the way up the backstretch. She was actually passing horses around the final turn of that race, but it was too much to overcome. That performance is not as bad as it looks on paper.
I think it's still up in the air as to how good the 3 Leslie's Rose is, Mike. Yeah. She got such a perfect trip when winning the Ashland 2 starts back and upsetting Just FYI, who was fresh off of a lengthy layoff. She sat the pocket. She got to the outside at just the right time, and she sprinted home through the short stretch to win. In the Kentucky Oaks, she just didn't seem to like the track at all. She was done after a half mile, and whether you think she's good or not, she's better than that.
She's way better than that. You did want to maybe see her, put in some kind of a performance that day. She really didn't do it, but it didn't help that she was another one who was just 4 or 5 wide all the way around the track and backing up before that field hit the final turn of that race. I don't want to be too hard on her for it. Obviously, a race like the Ashland 2 starts back, and that trip is available to her in here. That race gives her a real big chance in this race, Dan. I'm not going to be surprised when she rebounds.
What about the 1 1/8 for her, Mike? Do you think that's a little bit of a question mark for Leslie's Rose? She did win at 1 1/16 with the shorter stretch, but I don't know. I'm kind of getting the feeling maybe she's a 7 furlong miler type.
I mean, I guess we're going to find out more as time goes on here. Personally, I'm not worried about the distance for her at all. She's bred to get this far. I don't think the shorter stretch and that actually had anything to do with that win 2 starts back. She finished that race off.
Just FYI, was second in the Ashland, then second in the Kentucky Oaks. And I think one of the main storylines going into the Kentucky Oaks was that Bill Mott was a little bit behind the 8 ball with just FYI's preparation over the winter. She missed a scheduled start, so she had to go into the Oaks off of only 1 prep, and she ran just fine to finish second. She really loomed boldly at the 3/16 pole, and Torpedo Anna turned her away. Maybe with those 2 preps under her belt now, she'll be ready for her best in the Acorn.
Yeah, man, that's a really good way to look at her, Dan. And I'm glad that you pointed that out. She did miss a prep into the Ashland, and she ran really well that day, but it felt like a race that she probably needed. And then I think it could be fair to say that maybe she needed one more in that Oak. She ran really well that day. She got a good trip, and she really ran in there. But if she just needed one more and now is ready to move forward, super dangerous in here. She's a really good horse.
New York bred My Main Squeeze is the number 5, and she's won 4 of her last 5 starts, including the 8 Bellas last time out, which was over a sloppy track. Again, it could be key. There's a chance the track's going to be wet at Saratoga on Friday. She was well beaten by Torpedo Anna in the Fantasy. She was the favorite in that day, Mike, and I wonder if she just lost her race before the start because she was very fractious.
It seems like there had to be some kind of an excuse for that performance, Dan. And listen, it's the only time that Maker's gotten her out around 2 turns, and even if there is some kind of an excuse, wasn't a good performance. So far, her better races have come going shorter, and the turn back really worked for her last time. I think she's underrated. I still feel like this is a really tough spot for her.
Where's My Ring? The number 6, she'll have no problems with this distance. She won the Grade 3 Gazelle going 1 mile and 1/8 2 starts back. She was favored despite being a multi-time maiden in that race, but she also ran very well. And it's just another horse that did not have a good trip in the Kentucky Oaks. I like that they're running her back here.
Yeah, I do too. We'll see how good she is too. I mean, I liked her Gazelle win 2 starts back going this distance. That wasn't a great field. But I do like the race that she ran that day. And I do think that she was better than she looked anyway going into that field. She just, to me, had one of the worst trips in the entire race in the Kentucky Oaks. I mean, nothing went right for her right from the start. And it was partially maybe her own doing, Dan, because she had an inside draw and she did not get out of the gate well. And then everybody just got in front of her. She lost all position in that race and was always well back and behind horses in there. I'm throwing that race out and judging her off of the other ones. And I think she's really interested in here at a price.
Regulatory Risk is the number 7. Chad Brown removed blinkers for the Kentucky Oaks, and this horse ran on to be 3rd, although no match for Torpedo Anna. And just FYI, this will be her 4th start off the layoff. She is another filly with some tactical speed, more than what I think we saw last time out in the Kentucky Oaks, and she's won over a wet track, which could be key.
Yeah, she likes a wet track. We'll see what she does in here, and we'll see what the surface looks like. To me, she was one of the horses who, and she's going to be a good price, so I guess it doesn't really matter, but I don't really need her in this race. She got a good trip and was no match for Where's My Ring and the Gazelle 2 starts back. I thought she had an overall really good trip in the Oaks and sort of took advantage in a race where some others didn't get as lucky as she did. I thought she was really hard to like in here.
I think the 8 Gun Song has the tactical speed to put Johnny Velasquez wherever he wants to be heading into the first turn. And this filly just seems to be getting good at the right time for Mark Henning. The Gulfstream Park Oaks was a race again. The pace really quickened on the backstretch, and she was part of that enervating battle before tiring. Remember, that was her first start around 2 turns. She put it all together when Mark found the spot for her in the Black Eyed Susan last time. Let's watch that race. She was the favorite. She got up close to the pace, and once she makes the lead, she leaves no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, she won this race as she was supposed to, as the favorite in here, Dan. Good trip, yes. It's not a super strong field, but she did what she had to do in here, and she got a respectable figure for this performance, a slight move forward. She's got to move forward again. This is a way tougher race.
And Torpedo Anna is the number 9. She's simply the horse to beat based on her 2 races this year. And she was a good 2-year-old filly for Kenny McPeak as well. Her win in the Fantasy, she looked like a winner every step of the way. And once she made the lead in the stretch, it was a pretty devastating turn of foot. And I guess it was a harbinger of things to come, because in the Kentucky Oaks, Brian Hernandez didn't even take a chance. He went right to the lead with her. They went a legitimate pace, and she shrugged off just FYI and 4 of these other horses to win. She's simply the horse to beat. Does the outside post worry you?
I mean, not really. It's not ideal. They're going to start pretty close to this first turn at Saratoga going 9 furlongs, so she's going to have to work something out. We'll see how Hernandez decides to play it. Again, the good news for her is she's so handy, Dan. I mean, come out of there running, try to get over it. That doesn't mean she has to be on the lead, but they could certainly get there if nobody goes aggressively. She's just really hard to knock. I mean, all of her races are good. Her first 2 starts this year are a huge move in the right direction for her. And, you know, we talked about it. There were some trips behind her in the Kentucky Oaks. I still thought she won that race fair and square.
Could be a big weekend again for the Hernandez-McPeak combination. Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top Pick Time, Grade 1 Acorn, Friday race of the day. Torpedo Anna does it again, according to Mike Beer.
I'm going to bring that Kentucky Oaks Exacta right back. There are some other horses that I want to fool around with to get in there, particularly the 6, Where's My Ring, who I just feel like you have to give her a pass for the Oaks. But I'm going to bring that Kentucky Oaks Exacta right back, 9-4.
I'm going to hope that Just FYI, with those 2 preps now under her girth, can take a slight step forward and take the measure of Torpedo Anna. She's tactical enough that if Torpedo Anna gets hooked up early, maybe she can kick him down late. 4985 for me, 9463 for Mike. Grade 1 Acorn, Friday race of the day. Good luck.